Real attraction almost never arrives the way people expect it to. It doesn't announce itself with bold words or dramatic gestures. It moves quietly, in a pause that lasts half a second longer than it should, in a glance that lingers, in a question that sounds casual but isn't. Most people are taught to look for desire when it's loud, when someone is flirting openly, when there's obvious excitement, when the energy is intense. But the deepest kind of attraction rarely works that way. It reveals itself in small, nearly invisible shifts, the way someone slows down when they're around you, the way their attention becomes more focused, the way they start listening not just to what you say, but to how you think. That's why so many people miss it. They assume that if interest were real, it would be unmistakable. They believe attraction should be dramatic, emotional, or even chaotic. But real interest, especially when it's rooted in respect and curiosity, moves in the opposite direction. It becomes quieter, more intentional, more deliberate. When someone is drawn to you in a meaningful way, they don't rush. They observe, they measure, they pay attention. And that's what makes it powerful. Because when attraction grows in silence, it's not built on impulse, it's built on recognition. You feel it before you can explain it. A subtle tension, a calm awareness, a sense that something is being noticed even when nothing is being said. If that idea makes you slightly uncomfortable, that's not a bad sign. Discomfort often shows up when something true is finally being seen. And once you understand this, you'll start realizing how often real attraction has been present in your life, quietly, patiently, waiting for you to notice it. When a younger woman feels drawn to an older man, it is rarely about numbers or age. It's about what that age represents when it's paired with emotional stability, calm confidence, and a sense of direction. Attraction doesn't respond to how impressive someone tries to be. It responds to how grounded someone feels. Younger men are often in the phase of proving themselves. They compete, perform, and push for validation. Their energy carries urgency, the need to be seen, chosen, and approved of. But when an older man is emotionally centered, something very different happens. He isn't trying to convince anyone of his worth. He already knows who he is. That quiet certainty is powerful. It creates a feeling of safety without control, confidence without noise, strength without force, and that combination is rare. A younger woman who notices this doesn't feel pressure around him. She doesn't feel like she has to impress. She feels like she can simply be present. That shift alone changes everything, because when someone stops performing, they start revealing who they really are, and real attraction grows in that space. This is why the connection feels different, not dramatic, not chaotic, just steady, calm, and strangely magnetic. It's not about wanting to be taken care of. It's about being drawn to emotional steadiness. And once she senses that steadiness in you, her behavior begins to change in ways that are subtle but consistent. One of the clearest signs of deeper attraction is not how much someone wants to be liked by you, but how much they want to understand how you see the world. When a younger woman is genuinely drawn to an older man, she doesn't fish for compliments. She doesn't ask what you think about her appearance or try to impress you. Instead, she asks about your perspective. She wants to know how you think, how you interpret situations, how you make decisions, how you handle disagreement or uncertainty. This isn't casual curiosity, it's calibration. She is quietly checking whether your mind feels stable, thoughtful, and emotionally safe to stand near. You'll notice this in the kinds of questions she asks. They're not shallow, they're not performative, they're reflective. How would you handle this? What do you think about people who do that? Why do you see it that way? These questions are not about being impressed. They are about orientation. She is testing whether your worldview feels grounded enough to trust. There's a big difference between wanting approval and wanting perspective. Approval looks for validation. Perspective looks for direction. When someone wants your perspective, it means your way of thinking has started to matter to them, and that's where attraction begins to move from surface-level interest into something much deeper. When someone feels genuinely drawn to you, their nervous system responds before their words ever do. You'll notice it in her pace. She doesn't rush when she's around you. Her speech becomes calmer, her movements soften, her attention becomes more focused. This is not accidental. When a person feels safe and interested at the same time, their body naturally slows down. They stop performing. They stop scanning the room. They become more present. Around people who don't matter, we stay fast, distracted, and emotionally guarded. Around people who do, we settle. So if you notice that she becomes quieter in a comfortable way when she's with you, not awkward, not withdrawn, just more real, that's a strong signal. She is regulating herself toward you. That's a deep form of respect. It means your presence feels grounding. It means she doesn't feel the need to impress or entertain. It means she feels seen without being judged. Attraction built on excitement creates noise. Attraction built on safety creates stillness, and stillness is where real connection begins to grow. There is a big difference between someone who overshares and someone who trusts you. When a younger woman feels drawn to an older man in a deeper way, she doesn't bring chaos into his space. She brings honesty. She might mention a challenge at work, a doubt she hasn't shared with others, a situation that's been sitting quietly in her mind. But she doesn't do it to be rescued. She does it to be understood. She is watching how you hold what she gives you. Do you listen without interrupting? Do you stay calm instead of trying to fix everything? Do you respond with steadiness rather than judgment? This matters more than most men realize. Emotional safety is built when someone feels they can be seen without being corrected, and older men who create that kind of space stand out instantly. When she shares something personal and doesn't feel smaller afterward, her attraction deepens. Not because you solved anything, but because you made it safe for her to be real. When attraction is real, it doesn't look desperate, it looks intentional. A younger woman who is drawn to an older man rarely pursues him loudly. Instead, she creates opportunities. A quick conversation becomes a longer one. A casual message becomes a small check-in. A chance meeting feels just a little too well-timed. None of it feels forced, but none of it is random either. She is placing herself in your orbit to see what happens when you're close. This is subtle, and that's why many men miss it. If you assume it's coincidence, you don't respond. If you assume it's certainty, you push too hard. The balance is awareness without pressure. She wants to know if you can notice without needing her to spell it out. That tells her how emotionally intelligent you are. Attraction here is not about chasing, it's about invitation. And the men who understand this don't rush. They simply meet the moment with calm confidence. That's what keeps the door open. One of the strongest signs of genuine attraction is not how polished someone looks around you, it's how unpolished they allow themselves to be. When a younger woman feels drawn to an older man in a real way, she stops performing. She doesn't carefully curate every word. She doesn't manage her image as tightly. She speaks more freely, even when her opinions aren't popular. That shift is powerful. It means she feels emotionally safe enough to be honest. You'll notice it when she disagrees with you without tension, when she challenges your ideas but stays engaged, when she isn't trying to win, she's trying to understand. That's not conflict, that's investment. People don't bring their real thoughts to places they don't care about, and when she brings her real self into your presence, it means your presence matters. Attraction built on surface-level interest avoids friction. Attraction rooted in respect welcomes it. Because it's not about impressing anymore, it's about connection. When a younger woman feels drawn to an older man, she doesn't try to provoke him. She tries to understand him. She may share something that challenges your values, a story that invites a reaction, an opinion that isn't easy to agree with. She's not looking for conflict. She's watching how you respond. Do you become defensive? Do you feel the need to prove something? Or do you stay calm, curious, and grounded? Emotional steadiness is deeply attractive because it signals safety without control. Someone who can hold tension without losing their balance feels strong in a quiet way, and that quiet strength builds trust. When she sees that you don't collapse under disagreement and you don't need to dominate it, her respect for you grows. And where respect grows, attraction follows. Attraction always reveals itself through priority. When a younger woman is drawn to an older man in a meaningful way, she doesn't suddenly become more available to everyone. She becomes more intentional with you. A short conversation turns into a longer one. A casual coffee becomes a walk. A quick message becomes a thoughtful exchange. These aren't accidents. Time is the one thing people only give more of to what truly matters. She may not make big declarations, she may not say anything directly, but she creates space. And that space is one of the clearest signs that her interest is growing beyond curiosity. Attraction that fades avoids commitment. Attraction that deepens creates room. This is where many men unknowingly end everything. They feel the connection, they sense the closeness, and instead of letting it breathe, they try to secure it. They ask for clarity too soon. They look for reassurance. They start pushing for certainty, and that pressure changes the energy. Attraction in this dynamic is built on safety and admiration, not urgency. The moment you lean into entitlement, even subtly, the connection shifts, not because she wasn't interested, but because interest needs space to grow. When you stay grounded, when you don't chase, when you don't demand, you communicate something powerful, that your value doesn't depend on being chosen, and that is what keeps her leaning in. There comes a moment when interest stops being about excitement and starts being about comfort. You feel it when silence no longer feels awkward, when being together doesn't require constant conversation, when nothing needs to be proven. This is where attraction becomes something deeper. She starts noticing your flaws and not turning away. She observes how you handle them, how you talk about your past, how you relate to who you are now. She isn't looking for perfection. She's looking for emotional honesty. And when she feels that honesty, she feels closer. This is also when she begins to think quietly about the future, not making promises, just noticing whether your presence fits. Attraction fades when it's only about excitement. It lasts when it feels emotionally steady. Real desire does not need to be loud to be strong. It is quiet, steady, and observant. When a younger woman is truly drawn to an older man, she doesn't rush toward him. She watches him. She notices whether his words match his actions, whether his calm is real, whether his confidence is steady or fragile. Consistency is what makes attraction feel safe, not charm, not intensity, not persuasion. Just the quiet reliability of being the same person no matter who is watching. That's what keeps her coming back. That's what makes her lean in without being asked. That's what allows desire to deepen instead of disappear. You don't have to chase what already recognizes you. You just have to remain who you are long enough for it to see you clearly. And when it does, it stays.